I think at the end of the day, when I think about automation and the future of automation, it's growing so very quickly right now. There's so many new technologies coming. The advent of machine learning, auto ML, computer vision, natural language processing, the strives in process discovery and process mining, as well as some of the great tools that are out there that have existed for years. There's so much out there, so much that can help organizations, big and small right now. And the cost point is coming down incredibly quickly. And it's very, very impactful for middle market. It's no longer the big enterprise players that are out there sort of leveraging this technology. It is right for the middle market. And I think that over the next 5 years, 2020 to 2025, the adoption of various automation technologies is going to continue to evolve and continue to expand because there's so much opportunity there. And much like we saw before the pandemic, there was a huge rush and there's a huge battle around high-end talent out there. And I think that's going to come back. Intelligent automation is really a newer saying that's out there. It's really an amalgamation of a number of technologies that are out there. Here at RSM, the way we sort of think about it is it's a combination of robotics process automation, various artificial intelligence, so computer vision, natural language processing, machine learning, along with point solutions that are out there. There's a lot of sort of point automation solutions that are out there to sort of fix various specific business cases that are out there. So when you think about automation, it's really sort of combining all those different sort of automation techniques to really bring automation and to the entire environment and optimize the agility of an organization. Yeah, so within the finance functions, it's interesting. I read recently that many people think up to 70% of the finance function can be automated these days. And I think the way that most people think about automating the finance and where it usually starts is really sort of at the transaction level. So thinking about your procure to pay, your order to cash, and record to report. So your classic back office finance functions. So receiving invoices, recording invoices, routing them for approvals, doing some order management, cash application, account reconciliation, all the reporting that happens within finance are all really good places to sort of start with your automation journey. And then just sort of maintaining the ongoing, right? Think about maintaining your vendors that are out there. So that ongoing relationship with your vendors, being able to automate that is actually very, very repetitive and very, very structured. So you can actually look at automating that aspect of finance as well. So, some of the things that you don't usually automate is much more around the analytics, right? That's where your human workforce is really becoming much more valuable, is in terms of, negotiating, doing analytics, looking for insights and predictions into the future versus sort of the traditional finance function that's sort of very, very backwards focused. Yeah, building a business case or an ROI around automation usually starts and ends with time savings, understanding sort of your current headcount, the amount of time being spent on it, as well as the cost of that resource. What is a full-time equivalent, fully loaded cost of it divided by hours, and be able to calculate it out. It becomes a very, very easy cost when you start talking about pure cost savings. When you're automating a back office process, you're seeing that to be the start. If you stop and end there, though, that's making a mistake, because you're not thinking about sometimes the strategic value of a potential automation that's out there. You think about your DSO, for example, getting better cash flow. Is that going to get you better deals with your vendors potentially? Or taking someone who's doing AP and processing invoices on a day-to-day basis, taking them from sort of a transaction type job and moving them into more of a strategic view, looking at your vendors, negotiating better rates, understanding where money is being spent, looking for alternative vendors, and really managing your vendors versus just managing the transaction flow itself. You're going to get potential savings there. So you're going to see other potential savings as you redeploy your workforce to higher value activity. Yeah, I think the pandemic, ultimately the way it's been being talked about is sort of this gray swan. And there's sort of the classic black swan, which is really an unknown, unprecedented event. And then there's white swan, that's sort of a very certain, understood event that's happening. The pandemic is really sort of considered more of a gray swan. It's sort of unknown, but highly predictable. And it's really sort of changed the environment across the board. About 30% of Americans rely on sort of information workers and have become really sort of a remote workers. And that's heavy in the finance function, really in the back office, the corporate function. So all those functions that used to be very sort of office driven is sort of taken on a much more remote role. The finance function is really becoming much more strategic and forward thinking and looking at the whole ecosystem. And the only way you can do that is by incorporating more and more automation into that back office function. So that they can sort of move that forward. Right? It also sort of brings a lot more in terms of the risk profile of an organization. A lot of the CEOs, CFOs that I talk to really want to sort of guard against future white swans and gray swans. So, looking at those known potential events and even partially unknown or highly predictable events that are going to happen, how can we guard against them? How can we implement better business continuity using automation techniques in order to harden the company and make them more resilient in these types of pandemics? Because we don't know when the next pandemic might happen, but there's going to be other global events, and being able to add that sort of organizational agility to the environment is becoming, like I said, a critical part of organizations' strategies right now. So in terms of bots completely taking over, it's never going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe that people are going to change. They're going to get optimized. You're going to have, the younger workforce really doesn't want to do repetitive work. And that's what's getting automated right now. Higher value, analytical capabilities, forward thinking type activity, like that is going to be the future of the human workforce versus sort of the traditional transactional level work. I mean, we look at the last recession that we had back in 2009, 25% of supermarket assistant jobs were eliminated because of automation, right? Well, that job is very, very repetitive. So you're going to see that, right? They're probably, taking on higher value activities across the board. Maybe they're taking on better customer service jobs. Maybe they're working the floor, stocking shelves, right? But they're no longer doing that repetitive type activity. I don't foresee robots and automation overtaking. I think the bot human collaboration that's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years is really going to be amazing. And you're going to see efficiency go through the roof. And as the workforce is changing, right, the younger generations wanting that higher value, more challenging work coming into the market, as well as, some of the older generations starting to retire and move on, you're going to see the automation really sort of marry up and partner up really well with the human workforce, so that you're not going to worry about automation taking your jobs. You're really worried about what my next challenge is going to be. Like, how can I better help the company? How can I be more strategic? At the end of the day, we're going to continue to see pandemics. We're going to continue to see black swans, white swans, gray swans really sort of affect the entire environment, unknown and known events that are going to affect the environment and affect the economy. So, the best thing that we can do right now is inject organizational agility through the use of automation, especially in the middle market. We need to be able to be prepared for changing employee experience demands that are happening with younger generations coming into the workforce. We need to be able to provide higher end experiences and challenges to that workforce. And the way that we do that is we automate the lower value activity, the repetitive activity that traditionally was done by the human workforce. And the fact that we've got all this new technology and this continuously changing technology coming to the market means that it's right for the middle market. The cost has really come down. We can learn from it. It's becoming easier and easier, and it's helping organizations without using large IT departments to implement really, really interesting and forward-thinking technology to optimize your organizations.